Look at that. We're here. It's working. Pretty sure. Thank goodness. And welcome in. It is atbshow.com. If you go to atbshow.com, it pulls you into our page of links, the link tree, as it were, which I shouldn't have to say their name because we're paying for it. I think we actually have like the pro account. So atbshow.com pulls you in. You'll find all the places that you can find us. And as of late, we are attempting to simulcast live and in person on YouTube and Facebook, and that's a work in progress. So we're doing our best. But here we are. We are down to 3 this week. Little Shoes is he at Marshall's? Is he what is he up to? But I mean, he's up to 6
Lowe's. He works at Lowe's now.
Oh, he's at Lowe's.
Yes.
He's marching around point light bulbs, aisle 18. Yeah.
It's inventory week.
Oh, now
Ooh.
this? Am I profiling? Did they hire him because he has to face the top shelf? What'd they grab him for?
They didn't want
love
to
him.
ladders. So yeah.
All 9 feet of him. God bless him. So Little Shoes is off this week. Adam tried to pull a Bobby Dugan. Let me finish because a lot of people just got concerned. So Bobby Dugan joined us last week from the left coast, live from his car, crystal clear iPhone on T-Mobile from the parking lot of his bookie's apartment or somewhere. And he was crystal clear. So Adam's like, Dugan looked great. I'll do it. Here's the problem. And God bless Adam. We'll see him next week. Adam decided that he was going to try to pull this off tonight from the East Coast. If you are joining us from the East Coast, do me a favor. Look out your window. Dark out. So now, for him to have lighting in his car from his iPhone, and I think he's AT&T. I'm not sure. No, he's actually a Samsunger now. He had to turn on the dome light in the car. And then the phone was in his lap, which sent my mind racing because it looked like, he made you either feel like a subordinate worker or, all the angles were wrong. It was like a bad snuff film. We said, maybe we'll see you next week. So he's not joining us. He's at a swim meet with one of his girls, and he'll be back next week. So you've got Rubba Shoes, who has to explain the wardrobe. This is like a segment now every week. Uncle Dukes is here. We're going to get into the red hot Bruins. They're melting the ice. And, of course, we get some Celtics talk and our Patriots. And I got to be honest, boys, I've been 8-9 all year. I'm coming for your kids now. I want all of it. I want the Super Bowl. I want the parade. I'm all in, which is probably going to jinx them horrendously, but we'll see how that goes.
You just totally screwed us. Yeah,
I just ruined everything. Nostradamus. Blew it all up. So welcome into ATB
Can we
Show.
start with the Bronco?
Yeah, I'm going there now, Scotty
Bronco
Dukes.
though?
We're all intrigued. Do tell
okay.
Uncle Rubber Shoes, why are you head to toe in your, I was going to say John Denver. Does it matter? You're John Elway, John Denver. What are you wearing? Haas uniform.
So, back in my Polk High days, I was...
Yeah, you were number 7. I know this.
I was a quarterback, so
I know.
I loved John Elway back in the day, and I also loved Dan Marino. So I told my wife and son that I would really love one of those jerseys for Christmas. So they got me the John Elway.
This year?
That's it. Yeah, I just got it a week and a half ago, whatever it was, 2 weeks ago.
I mean, I'm a sucker, and Dugan right now is losing his mind because Dugan despises. There's a whole show waiting for this. There might be a mini series.
He doesn't like the retro jerseys.
Despises throwbacks.
Wow.
Yeah, which is fascinating because he knows how excited I am. We talked about it a little bit last week about the fact that thank you, Roger Goodell. I'll never say that.
Yeah,
again.
finally.
Yeah, finally he's letting them have alternate helmets. Well, other teams get away with alternate helmets because they can use the same helmet and just swap out the decals. The Patriots alternate helmet, obviously Pat Patriot, is on a white shell, and they haven't allowed us to do that, which makes zero sense. Like, strategically, logistically, if I'm in a game and my equipment gets damaged, unlike golf, if you break your putter, you're now putting with your 2-iron. In football, if my helmet got damaged, they would allow me to replace the equipment with equipment that is going to suffice. So why is it from week to week that we couldn't have an alternate helmet? Never made sense. But again, Roger Goodell doesn't make sense. So I guess we'll leave it right there on the table. No, I do love the throwback. I just wasn't sure why it's happening now.
Because I just got it. That's why. And I had to wait. I had to wait for the matching hat to come in, which I got yesterday. So.
He really, yeah. I got to tell you, we found Rubba Shoes doppelganger. Did you see the text, Scotty Dukes? So we're at the.
I did. Yeah.
We're at the BC UNC landslide on Sunday. Thanks for nothing. We lost by 4,000. Cameron's just like, we got to go. And in front of us, because of course Connie Forum was just full of UNC fans. Thank you again. There's a family of four in front of us. The youngest son, who looked like a little Tyler before Tyler became 6'8", is in black Nike sweats, UNC long sleeve T-shirt, white rubber shoes, complete with gibbets. And Janine is like, oh my God, it's like a breed. Like, I'm like, yeah, like if Rubber Shoes was here, there'd be like a single tier, you know, like you were so proud. Do you have the picture that we sent?
Oh, you want me?
Oh, I thought you were looking for the picture.
No, Adam had sent us a text. I was reading Adam's text.
Uh-oh.
He loves the 3 across.
He loves the 3 up. See, see and God bless our tech guy, Robert. I don't dislike the 3 up. I think I would
Which
enjoy
just a little wider, maybe.
Well, no, I love the artistic license that it makes me feel thinner because it's chopping off the side fat. I would love though three landscapes because we could put you guys down bottom and maybe one up to, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I don't hate it. This whole setup makes us actually look like we know what we're talking about. Like the content almost doesn't matter now because we've got this whole setup with our names and yeah, we look like we're important, which we're not, but we're here and we're talking sports. Rubber Shoes is wearing too much orange. We've established that. The Bruins are heating up, which is phenomenal. In a couple of weekends, I think it's the 15th. I've got a hockey doubleheader in Boston. Cameron and I are going to the Predators are coming to the Garden to play the Bruins in the afternoon. And then at 7:00, we've got UNH coming to Conti to play hockey with Boston College. So I'm just going to stay in Boston all day Saturday and hopefully watch 2 victories. And I mean Boston and Boston, not Boston and, you know, Oyster Cracker University. Scotty knows what I mean when I say Oyster Cracker University.
Yeah.
My company, every time I meet with a new agent at my company, I'm like, so get me from high school graduation to this conversation. They're like, so I went to Oyster River High School, then I went to Oyster River University. I'm like, you can skip that part. I know, yes. Everybody went to UNH. I appreciate that. Godspeed. MoveOn.org.
Including my wife.
Everybody. See, everybody. And like the 2 things that usually happen in New Hampshire is I feel like almost everybody went to UNH. By the way, a phenomenal school. It's just when you feel like everybody but you is a fan. You know, like I used to joke with you, Scotty, right? If at the time when Millie was the coach, I'm like, if they ever win a national title, I got to move. I'm going to have to move. Yeah, it'd be Dick Millie Day every day of the year, right? So, And then it feels like, which is ironic because you worked at a company that was near this, it feels like everybody then goes on to work at Biberty Mutual. Like almost the entire state of New Hampshire worked at Biberty Mutual.
Which is where I work now.
Now, but before you weren't, but now you're there. Yes,
right. Yeah, now I'm there now. But I didn't go to UNH. I did work for the Whittemore Center though. I was actually the marketing manager for the WIT. So I used to talk to Millie all the time. Nicest guy in the world, by the way. Like super, super nice.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was I'm not a UNH fan though. Like I'm not. I'm a Maine fan. So I'm a Blackman fan. Man. Like,
I know. You and Isaiah and Corey, Mainers.
That's right.
Mainers. Yeah, we won't get to the whole Crow story. We're definitely not going to tell the Crow story. We'll have him on at some point. And we'll talk about the Crow story, but not today. So
I'll miss that week.
Yeah. So the Bruins out of COVID now. I feel like they're solving it a little bit because now they've shortened it to 5 days. Not all the leagues are on the same page. Do we think that we're in a good space with professional sports with COVID? Because the Bengals just had a pop today now. Looks like Mixon might be out and Burrow might be out for this weekend, which is a throwaway because whether you're actually playing real games or not, because it is week 18, week 17, but week 18, correct? So
is it a throwaway though? It's still a seed game. Like they could still.
I know. I'm thinking from a fantasy standpoint. You've got a lot of people that are like don't care about this week, and if people are seeded and the Bengals are still fighting for their greatness, but they're going to be okay. They're going to have to be okay if they don't get him to play. Who comes in behind Burrow though? Like what even?
God, is it AJ McCarron? I don't even
Is
know
it
who the hell
McCarron?
that
No, the guy who took the last 2 snaps of the game last week, because Burrow got hurt right
Oh
before
yeah, his knee. Yep.
yeah. So I don't remember who came in.
I'll find it. So talk about the Bruins though, Rubber Shoes. I mean, Timmy's got a valid point though. I mean, they're playing great hockey. There's a ton of stuff going around with the league, but I feel like they've come out with this like little mini break and they're playing much better.
Right. So that's the one thing that I'm worried about is they have to cram in so many games that they missed during it. So they had I think I looked at it before they started the games. They were I think 9 games fewer played than the highest played team.
Yeah.
So they got to make up those games. Although one of those areas that they're making up the games is where they would have had the Olympic break. So now they'll probably have a couple games added in there, but they've they might have to squeeze in a few extra games where they didn't need to before. That'll be the only problem, but they're looking good. Cassidy jumbled up the lines coming out of the break. He has Craig Smith on the first line with Bergeron and Marchand, and the second line is now Pasternak, Taylor Hall, and Eric Haller, which I was surprised because Coyle was the centerman on that line before the break, and they kind of pushed him down, but it seems to be working so far. Goaltending is going to be their key point. And they're still, Tuukka's still working out with the team. I feel like he's going to sign any day, like a contract to finish the season out. And then we'll be losing Swayman.
Yeah, that's what kills me because but Swayman can make a trip down and come back, right?
Right. So how they were doing, so they'll like rest or bench one of the goaltenders. So they'll bench Ullmark or Rask and pull him up to be the backup. But I think that's all he can be. I don't think they can pull him up to be the starter. He can only be the backup.
Okay. So they'd have to. So if something happens to Tuukka, Ullmark would get the start, and then Swayman comes up to be the backup. Couldn't they? But then they could essentially. That doesn't make it. They could still start him though, couldn't they? No.
Well, no. If he gets hurt and he pulls them up, yes. But I don't think like if say they have Ullmark and Rask on the roster, and they want to bring Swayman up, I don't think they can have him like be an emergency starter if they have both their guys that are already on the roster.
Yeah.
I think they can bring him up to be the emergency backup. I don't know if they have to actually designate one of them for like an injury or not. I'm sure like there's lot more smarter people out there.
Yeah. How much of a financial black eye does that create for Sweeney when it gets to the point that they have to do something? And the only reason they're not pulling the trigger is because they spent too much money on Ullmark. Like that.
That's the.
That's not going to be great, and it's going to be annoying because I think he's out of the three of them. I would take Tuukka if Tuukka comes back and he's like, 90%. I'd take him at 89%.
Right.
Like probably even lower than that. That's going to be the challenge, I think, and I think Sweeney's. That was the craziest of all the weird things the Bruins have done over the years. This is one of the most questionable. I don't know. The amount of money they threw at him is like getting somebody, yes, because Swayman, could be hurt. We had to have somebody, but like the amount of money what was it 5 for 4 years, $20 million?
Yeah.
And I'm not you. I'm not the hockey aficionado, but I'd never heard this kid's name before. Had you? Dukes, have you ever heard this kid's name before, Ullmark?
Who? Sweet? Who?
No, Omar.
Linus.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's where I was just like, who?
Yeah.
Who did we just give too
No.
much money to?
Yeah.
Like that. I don't know.
I had heard of him, but not like thinking that he was anything special. I thought he was just a backup up in Buffalo, but
Yeah.
apparently he was injured a bunch, so that's why he didn't start a lot of games.
Okay.
But yeah, that I was shocked at that one. Not so much the player, but the money. Like why do you have to give?
It's not like a really good like selling point. He was injured a bunch, so they gave him a bunch of money.
Right. Yeah. It was like a desperation move. We really
Yes.
didn't have that unless they could. Vladar was an option, but I don't know how much money they would have had to pay him to stay because he ended up going to Calgary and he's doing pretty well up there. So I don't know if they could have got Vladar cheaper to stay.
Yep.
But then I think you would have been in the same boat.
I love the best thing in the last couple of games. I love the fact that they've been coming back. Like the I guess just the tenacity they're playing with is pretty exciting coming out of this break. And who do you think the person right now is most shocking? Like the performance of which player right now is most exciting for you?
I don't think anyone really. It's been like such a team win. The three wins have been all. Nobody's
Everyone's
been
in.
scoring more than one goal. It's been, they scored 5 goals the last 2 games, and it was 5 different people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a real. I think the line change helped, and even their fourth line guys are scoring. So that's that's what you need. Like back in the Cloud days, just roll 4 lines. When you have 4 lines to roll, you could do that. But when your third or fourth line aren't producing, you really can't do that and win. So it's nice that you get consistency throughout the whole team. So that's what I think the biggest thing is. And you could definitely tell that Swayman is learning because as you said, the trampoline's on his legs. He's just giving up rebound after rebound. He's definitely, you can tell that he's been working on it. He's playing the puck a lot better off of him.
Yep.
And I know, not Barry. What's the guy with Jack? Brick.
Oh,
Brick
yeah.
mentioned something the
Yep.
other night during the broadcast that he's seen that, and I'd noticed that too. That it was like he's not giving up big rebounds right in front of him. He's deflecting them more, or he's absorbing them.
Yep.
As soon as they fall in front of him, he's covering them up.
Yep. Yeah, I'd love to see them stay skating well at least for a couple of weeks. So when I get down there with Cameron, we see a good game because the Predators will be a good game. I'm not upset about that matchup. That should be a pretty good afternoon at the Bond.
In their recent past, this is what they've done. They'll go on a 10-game winning streak, and then they'll lose 4 in a row, and then they'll win 10 in a row, and then so maybe they're back to clicking. Don't love the 4-game losing streaks, but when they win 10 in a row, that's great. But you'd kind of like it better, win 3 or 4 in a row, lose 1, 3 and 4 in a row, lose 1, more like that.
Yep.
Then go on streak after and streak and streak and streak.
Yeah, for sure. So the other night, and we'll obviously talk about the Patriots 50 burger, but we also had another 50 burger.
The Jalen 50 burger.
Yeah, like just I was so excited to see him, and I loved his attitude in the post game interview. Scotty, if you saw that, he's like, we just needed a win. Like, yeah, that was awesome.
That's the new mantra, man. That's got to be the new mantra at this point with this team. Just win. Just have to win. I don't care how we do it. Just fucking win.
Yep.
Yeah, and the thing is, the whole league every night, it seems like most of the teams are missing half their players. So it's not like you're like, oh well, we're missing Tatum, we're missing this guy. Well, guess what?
Everybody's up against it.
Missing their starting 5. So
Yep.
there's no excuses. You just gotta, put on your big boy pants and go out there and win.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it was kind of sad that he had to drop a 51-point game against Orlando to get them to squeak out I think it was a 5-point win.
Right.
But it was a huge win. Tatum's back. He came back to practice yesterday, so Tatum is back officially.
Yep.
He'll play tonight against the Spurs. And that's the thing, too. The Celtics have like a pretty interesting next 2-week schedule here with the Spurs game, which is, you want to. The thing is, like, I'm trying not to be to get back into being optimism and stuff like that with this team, because they've been breaking my heart for off and on throughout the year. Because I'm like, oh yeah, this is. I want to get excited because I feel like they can, they'll actually start playing good basketball.
Yep.
And they've won back-to-back games, which is not a streak.
No, right now it's a streak.
Yeah, I always want when I do my wrap ups, I don't want to call it a streak if it's 2 in a row, but 3 in a row, like the Bruins just won 3 in a row, like, oh, they were on a streak. Yeah.
3 in a row is a streak. I don't consider 2 in a row is back-to-back wins. But they got the Spurs back-to-back against the Knicks, back-to-back against the Pacers, and then a week from Friday against Philly, and then Chicago. So next weekend will be a tough weekend, but they could go on a little bit of a run here. And the Eastern Conference is a freaking mess. This could take them from the 10 seed where they currently stand to drop them, bring them all the way up to almost the 7 seed. So it's an interesting little run that they have here, especially, to Rubber Shoes' point, it's a lot of teams that they're going to be playing aren't going to be at 100%. Getting Tatum back, Schroeder's back, Brown's back, you know what I mean? Knock on wood, other people don't, people start to come back, but also, it's stay healthy.
I got the push notification the other night that I did not subscribe to, which was the Schroeder alert. And I'm like, okay. He's like, we're going to win. I'm like, good to know. Thanks.
It was you guaranteed it. And then I'm watching the game. Like, what's happening?
Oh, I was like, I think after the game I said, see?
Oh my God.
That was the overtime game, right? The Orlando game?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Once, that was the 50 burger. Yeah, that was.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, this isn't looking too good. So I got a
question.
On, see if you guys.
It's freaking Orlando. Orlando's terrible.
Have the same question I do. Is
why do men have nipples? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
Tatum's on the health and safety protocol list.
Okay.
But he's sitting right behind the bench every game.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA came out and they actually did. I don't either. And the NBA came out actually during when Tatum was had the COVID. They came out and they shortened the window, and sort of the NFL did the same thing, where it's now 5 days if you're asymptomatic and vaccinated. So you can, and you can, and I don't know if the NBA, I want to say there was something in there about them at home games, players can be present or something. But then, as long as, again, asymptomatic and vaccinated, they just can't play. It doesn't make sense to me. If you have it, then you can't travel with the team. Then why would you be anywhere near that? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It was. Yeah, it's really.
I was scratching my head there. I was like, I don't understand this.
Yeah, it's really strange. I don't get it at all. But I'm happy that he's finally back. It'll be interesting to see. I think Jalen's going to be happy that he's back. I feel like Jalen took on a lot of pressure on himself. I mean, the Phoenix game was really fun to watch, even though that was the first time I felt like they played a legitimate 48-minute game. Mm-hmm. They had a huge lead. They didn't blow it completely. The Phoenix came back a little bit, but not. It was never really. I don't think it was ever really to the point where it's like, oh, they're going to blow this game. But
that was. I was like, man, they have. Phoenix had no bigs in that game. They were just going the whole of it. Robert Williams with the triple double.
No, I love that kid Smith. I love that kid Smith with the glasses though. Did you see the dunk that he had the other night? Oh God, he dunked on. It was I want to say it was someone from Denver. And just postered him. I mean, it wasn't Jokic, but it was someone from Denver that I think it might have been a Plumlee, Miles Plumlee or whoever, but just absolutely just postered him, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. But yeah, I mean, with the Celtics, we're coming up on usually around the next 3 weeks, you're going to hear more trade talk because usually the trade deadline's mid-February, I think. And so, you're going to start hearing some things. I'm not hearing anything currently. And then when I was listening to you guys last week talking about Udoka and, my biggest thing with him right now, and I was his biggest cheerleader in October, one of the shows. I'm like, I think he's a great fit. I think this is going to work. But so far, he just hasn't looked like he's ready to be a head coach. That's my, like, right now, no BS assessment. I'm looking at it. I think he's overwhelmed. I think he's having a hard time. I think he's a good coach. I don't know if he's ready for everything that being a head coach in the NBA, the day-to-day, all the stuff that you have to do.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have to, it's Boston. We're not friggin' Minnesota, okay? We're not in New Orleans. We're in Boston. You need to be able to produce, and you need to be able to do it consistently, it's really hard to do. And I think he's still having a hard time to adjust. Do I think is it time for a coaching move? I don't know if it's still, it's somewhat early. They're 18 and 19, so it's not like super early, but it's, I think they're going to be a little. I think Grossbeck will be a little lenient with him.
Yeah.
It's tough because they haven't had to have this heart to heart with like a coach in a while because Stevens was so good for so long. We've had stability in the coaching ranks.
Yeah.
And you think about that kind of like across all the major sports between, obviously when Cora got suspended outside of that, but you've had, Cora, Belichick. And before Cora was like, obviously, we had some good Farrell and Tito and stuff, but Belichick and the Patriots is a totally different story. But then Stevens and then Claude and until recently. But yeah, I think it's an interesting position for the Celtics to be in. And if these next couple of weeks, and that's kind of why I mentioned it to start with, where these are a lot of winnable games going into next weekend against Philly and Chicago, who to me are the two top teams in the Eastern Conference, as well as the Nets. But going into that, if they go in and they actually go on a little winning streak, then that'll be a lot of fun to watch. Whereas if they go in and they're playing like dog shit, they get their asses handed to them, then yeah, there's gonna be some shakeup. There has to be.
Yeah.
Because people will be, if they go 2-4 going into that, in the next 6 games or something like that, that's not going to be good enough. There's got to be some changes.
Well, and I guess it's just surprising that I don't know how those two feel about it. Like Jalen and JT, like they wanted, we all presume, everybody just feels like they were the drivers behind his hire, and the fact that they haven't really come together under his tutelage. And like, to your point, he feels like a little detached. I don't know. I'm just shocked that it didn't go the way, like I wasn't like, oh my God, Ime Udoka, like everything's going to change now. This is going to be like, he was right there with Linus Ullmark for me. I'm like, okay. Like, cause I don't know the third assistant coach on every NBA team. That's just not the NBA fan that I am. Like, they're wearing maroon and gold or shamrocks. Go team. Other than that, don't care, right? So when he came in, I'm like, okay, this is the cure. This is going to be the fix. And it's really been, sort of ironic to watch sort of like Brad in the background, just like, so it wasn't me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I don't know, like, to your point, like, is there another move behind this? And I just don't know what if that's not it? What if they just have to actually move some of the pieces on the board? And then the question is, who is that? Because I feel like they could screw that up. I don't want anybody. I'm the guy that I don't want anybody to go anywhere. Like, I want all the players to stay. Let's just make it. Why can't we all get along? And it's because there's so much talent there. Like, Marcus Smart hit a 3 from like upper deck of the Loge, and I'm like, where is that consistently? Like, be that guy all the time. No, it's. Oh, I know it's not. But then he hits one, and you're like, I love him. And then he shoots one, you're like, wrong basket. Like, what are you doing? You know? So I don't know what the fix is.
And the thing is, my biggest thought and even concern about this is that is Stevens going to make a change? Does he have the balls to make a change? And like that to me is, if they struggle, they went 6-9 in December, right?
Yep.
So if they go back, if they come out of this, and I don't know how many games there's probably, like, usually there's like between 15 and 16, 17 games in a month. But if they do it again, if they go 6-9 or 5-10 in the month of January, there has to be something. Like there has to be a change. And fine, if it's not, you don't want to get rid of Udoka, that's fine. Don't fire the coach. Fine. But you have to make some kind of adjustment, or it's, or you're just taking the season, crumpling it up and throwing it out the window. That's, which doesn't make any sense.
And right now, if he pops Ime, then he's on an island again. Because Danny's gone to Utah. Then, he's in the room alone by himself, well, whose fault is it now? Now, and now he's like Paul Newman with the Charlestown Chiefs. He's player coach, he's going to have to head back downstairs and coach the team, or find the right person.
Or find the right person.
If he popped him tonight, they lose against the Spurs, and he's like, you're out. And they make an announcement tomorrow, and there's a press conference. Who's coming in?
Oh, they would probably move up Damon or somebody like that. Damon Stoudemire or whatever.
Who would you want, long term?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I mean, there's the guy from, even though he got popped with a DB, Gonzaga's coach Strong. I've always been a big fan of his.
Yeah.
But they went the college route before and grabbed Stevens, right, from Butler. Mm-hmm. And I remember when it happened, one of my more intelligent basketball friends that we bitch and moan about a lot of basketball all the time, Chris Turnick and I he was adamant against it. He hated it. And I was like all for it. I thought it was a great hire. And I remember going back and forth of the reason why. And it's because, he's dealing with, kids in college, and now you're going to be dealing with men. Like, if you look at the NBA now, you are still dealing with kids. Like they're all kids. They're not they're just kids with a lot of money.
Yep.
They're not kids with dining hall cards. So it's still kind of the same thing. But I mean, I don't know. I'd have to really think about who would be the best person to come in. It would have to be someone also that. The other thing is from a personnel perspective. Do they really still build around J&J, which I still think you do. But you have to bring in. I mean, they do have talent. To your point, Timmy, they have a lot of talent. They just need to figure out either if maybe it is the system, maybe it's not. I don't know. They have to figure out how best to get the most out of those two players. They signed Time Lord to a decent contract. He's still young. He's still coming around. He's had some really good games this year. He's also been banged up, and he's also disappeared in a few games. Mm-hmm. But then they also have some dead weight, and it's funny. We all talked about how young Al Horford looked at the beginning of the year, and he's just kind of come back down to earth, and doesn't look nearly as young as he does. But I mean, there's such a long way to go, but I still think these next couple of weeks, especially right before the deadline, are going to end up being critical. And here's the thing, if they are playing really well, you probably won't see them make a move. If they do, it'll be something minor. It'll be we're going to trade Jason Richardson for Goran Dragic or whatever.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where if they're just playing like garbage, I think they'll make some decent change. Shakeups.
So before we get into the Patriots, I have to ask you guys if you were watching Monday night. Are you watching?
The Big Ben show.
The Big Ben show on Monday night. So
Drool Fest on ESPN.
Oh, well, 1,000%. And I'm not a Steelers fan. I think one of the side stories that sort of gets lost in all this is how long Mike Tomlin has been there. God bless him, right? I thought the coolest thing he did, because I was thinking towards the end, I'm like, are they going to send him out for that second to last drive? Will they send him out, call a timeout, and send his replacement in? And give him the walk-off, right? I wasn't, and I know also that, and he was quoted as saying the coolest play in the NFL is taking a knee, the victory snap, right? So he didn't want to do that. And if you notice at the very end, when he went out that second time after the pick to really end the game, after that first snap, Tomlin tried to take a timeout so he could take one more snap, and it got ignored because the crowd was already on the field. But I thought for a team that I have no connection to, sorry, Snoop, and for a quarterback that I could, I respect how long he's done what he did, and he's living proof that Tommy is amazing, because all Ben was trying to do was get one more 12 more minutes, and he really had a pretty rough year. Like, you watched him get older this year, I feel like he did, at least. And amongst all that, at the very end, how storybook was the end of the game. Like, you could see he didn't want to leave the field. He went over and sat on the bench. He comes back over. He goes to the tunnel. His parents are there. His kids are there. And the shot of him walking into the tunnel with his wife and his kids, like, that was like, I feel like, where is Scorsese? Like, that was set up. That was like the NFL. You don't get any credit for this, Roger. The NFL crushed that. Like, the way they respectfully let all of that unfold. Him walking down the tunnel with his wife and his kids. Amazing. And not a fan of the Steelers, have really no use for him. But as a dad and as an everything, I'm like sitting there. Jenny's like, "Are you crying?" I'm like, "No, I've got allergies." Like, I was like emotional watching it. It was unbelievable. Really? It really was.
Well,
it was unbelievable how much that just unfolded. I'm like, this is ridiculous, and I hate everybody on that field. Like, I don't like any of you.
I heard on a talk radio station the best description of him in 3 words: overrated, slob, pervert.
Oh.
And I'm like, wow,
my kids got me that T-shirt for Father's Day. Like, yeah. Yeah. I can't explain why that made me feel that way, because I also have I have feelings about all of it.
Yeah.
It was just like,
it's because
I don't know.
Football.
He got his flowers. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was
I'm sure
football.
if I stayed up and watched the end, I probably would have been the same way, even though I can't stand them. But I probably would have. Those heartfelt moments get to me usually.
1,000%. Yep.
Yeah. And the thing is, you got to think too, like, I hate the Steelers. I despise them. We've been rooting against this guy since 2004.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to lose every week. You know, and they've been how many AFC Championship games have we beaten them? You know what I mean? And
not
and
enough.
All that. And
yep.
Well, no, I mean, it'll never be enough because it's always so great when we do.
Yeah,
we've beaten them. You know, I don't even know.
What was it? Was it the AFC Championship game where they called back the punt return and then Troy Brown did it again? Wasn't that an AFC Championship game?
Well, he didn't return it for a touchdown. They kicked it, and then he got it or whatever. He got tackled, but there was a penalty, and then they kicked it again. But the problem was Bill Cowell was so pissed off because he was they put it on the different hash. They put it on the other side.
Yeah.
And then he kicked it to Troy, and then Troy took it back to the house.
Hashgate. Yes, of course. The NFL was conspiring against the Steelers. Yeah.
Yeah,
oh my God!
But, I mean, with Roethlisberger too, and it's funny that Rubber Shoe said that because I call him Rapeless Burger. You know what I mean? Because he's just he's not a. I've never really looked at him as like a great human being and like that,
for sure. Because I went back in, I was like gonna wiki everything. I'm like, what am I forgetting? And don't get me wrong, I know there was a misconduct. There was the motorcycle accident. There was a misconduct at a golf tournament. Yep. And there's a misconduct at that restaurant/bar. And that girl apparently later fell and hit her head. I mean, like, there's a lot of weirdness. And I got to be honest, you keep looking at I look at anybody here. Like, I made this determination about a month ago. Everybody in my life is taller and younger than me. So when I look at anybody on planet Earth, I'm just like, oh, he's 28. Like, I know Ben's not 28, but I still look at him as a kid. And when they marched his wife and kids out, I'm like, oh, he is married with kids. Because all I've got stored in my hard drive is like all the things, right?
Yeah.
Like, but like, look at Janina. There's somebody for everybody. Like, I mean, even I got married, right? So like, in the grand scheme of things, like, he's an absolute maniac. But yeah, married with kids, and I sort of didn't realize that. And I'm like, all right, and then I find myself getting emotional. I'm like, what is happening right now? Because
I think it's the way they framed it too, and they did a good job. They've also had some experience with this recently. You think about like the Drew Brees thing. When Brees left, I don't know if you remember this last year, when he had that shot where he just kind of like did that glance. They were watching
back one more time,
kind of like leaving, and it was just like he just had that like just that one like turn and look, towards the field. Yeah, and it's like that was his last. And I feel like, and then of course they had the shot with him coming back because it's the playoff game. Him coming back on the field with Tommy and his kids, Brees' kids were there.
Awesome. Yep.
Yeah, which is great, but I think they realized that they definitely knew this was coming, and I think ESPN did just one thing that I'll give them somewhat credit for is that and also I blame them for, is that they do a great job of focusing on the drama and being able to really sell the drama and be able to sell that story.
Yep.
And
I
they
think
did a
oversell
really
it.
good job.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
They were
And it's
kissing
that's what I
his
mean.
ass the
Like in
whole
this
game.
situation, you give in this situation you give them credit. 99 other friggin' situations, you blame them because you guys are just, they're horrible media people at most of the time. But no, they did a really good job, and between with Breeze and Manning and a few others, that I think they were more prepared for it this time around.
Yeah.
To watch him kind of go into the sunset, or so to speak, and be able to capture it, and I think they did a good job.
Well, and Janine and I were talking. I'm like, well, this isn't it. They still have the Ravens game, but this is the last home game.
Right.
The last game
Last
of the
home
ketchup bottle,
game,
because
last
it
Monday
stands
night
to reason
game.
that they're not coming back through the playoff. There's no math that sends it back through Hines at all.
No,
ever. So yeah. So
Right.
no, this is
pretty interesting. On to younger and better things. Mac Jones and your New England Patriots. I want to be excited.
Well, back in the playoffs, you should be excited.
No.
I mean, that 1 year hiatus.
I'm not placing too much on this one game against a team that we should have manhandled. Sorry, Ben Roethlisberger, too soon. Actually, too late. So, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not going to put too much credit on like, oh my God, we absolutely destroyed, the Jaguars. But yeah, I mean, a lot of good things, and they're clicking again. They're winning again. They're feeling good about themselves again. A lot of great plays. Wilkerson, we found a wide receiver, which is nice. And yeah, just some of the things that came to pass, like the first rookie wide receiver quarterback to send his team to the playoffs in how long? How long has it been since a rookie quarterback?
Probably since Roethlisberger, I think.
A long time, right?
So
yeah,
because I don't think Wilson did it.
That's really good news. And as I joked with you guys, I said without
possibly,
maybe, yeah. Like before, I was 8-9, and now I'm just like I'm coming for your kids now. Now, like I want the Super Bowl, I want all of it now. Now I'm losing my mind. I'm hyper nervous about Sunday.
Sunday's going to be a dogfight, man. It's going to be they have nothing to play for. Miami's out.
And they shifted us to 425.
Right, Miami's out, and they shifted the Buffalo game to 425.
Yeah, that's what pissed me off, because I'm like, oh,
terrible.
good. We'll know if Buffalo wins or loses, and if it matters or not. Then they don't have to play anyone. And now they're both going to be playing it. They knew what they were doing.
The NFL was sneaky as hell, because the NFL did was they basically said week 18. We're not going to tell you what the schedule is going to look like.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they didn't announce the Saturday games until like the Sunday games were done. They didn't announce any of the stuff. Like really, it was all like the NFL was just like, we're just going to do, which to them makes sense because they're going to make as much money as possible. But yeah, I was pissed too, Billy. I was like, come on, man. Like,
because when they first flexed, I heard that the Patriots got flexed. I was like, nice. Now we'll know if that game means anything or not to us. And now, And it's funny because on the Fox broadcast with Aikman and on the CBS with Nance and Romo, they both like, we have no idea where we're going next week. They didn't even know what games they were going to be doing.
Yep. Dugan will be upset because he was going to have a 10 o'clock omelet. Now he has to wait until 1:25. But I'm sure he'll figure it out. Because he loves breakfast with the Patriots.
And it's crazy, though, because it is a great move by the NFL, because it's also – so the Patriots are actually one of 4 other teams that can actually get the number 1 seed.
Right.
Yep.
Which is insane to me that they can actually end up with the number 1 seed. I mean, they are the lowest percentage out of, I think, everybody to have the opportunity to get it. They need everyone basically ahead of them to
light themselves on fire.
Because I think they have to win. All the other teams are playing shit bum teams this week, I believe.
Yeah, the Bills are playing the Jets.
Bills are against the Jets, yeah.
Okay, that should be done.
I think Kansas City's playing a bad team too. Not sure about the Titans, but
I love the fact that we're going to go in probably a pretty bad spot. Chiefs are playing my Broncos.
I was going to say the Broncos. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt Timmy, but yeah, the Colts are playing the Jaguars. By the way, have you guys? Here's something very interesting. Colts are playing the Jaguars, right?
Playing the Texans.
If for some reason the Jaguars beat the Colts somehow, some way. Which, by the way, the Colts haven't beaten Jacksonville in Jacksonville since like 2014. Just throwing that out there.
Okay, I like it.
If they do that, the Chargers and Raiders can both get into the playoffs with a tie. They're playing each other. The Chargers and Raiders are playing each other. So they could just sit down, take a knee, and just tie, and they both make the playoffs. I mean, they're both going to make the playoffs. They don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, they both of the team. There's no benefit for them really to actually play.
Yeah.
You know, because, well, I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting situation. What happens there? You know, if for some reason the Jaguars, somehow the Jaguars beat the Colts, because if Trevor Lawrence pulls out this friggin' miracle,
right,
and they beat the Colts, and then all of a sudden the Chargers and Raiders are like, oh, okay, well, coach, I'm just going to take a knee every down. How about you? Okay.
Doesn't understand the reason the Raiders beating the Colts last week. The Colts are pretty hot right now. Like the Colts, like they're going to be pretty hot. I'd love to see that happen, and I love that you brought that up too, Scotty, because I hope the rules committee gets rid of ties. The fact that we still and the funniest thing was it was a handful of years ago, and I don't remember if it was Jameis or if it was Cam. One of them didn't realize you could tie. Like they got to the end of overtime and they're like, "What do you mean the game's over?" Like they're like,
yeah, there's been a bunch of people like that that have not realized.
It shouldn't be a thing. There should be none of that.
No. There's a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, you'd probably have to go to like a shootout type thing with kicking field goals at the end, because they wouldn't play, another full game because the guys would
unless they did it like college, where people get it at like the 25 or 35 yard line,
25,
and then and do it. They could do it that way, which to me is like that's really exciting. You know what I mean? Like I always love the college football overtime.
Yeah, then you're forced to take a 2-point. You're forced for the 2-point conversion. 1,000%. The ties have to go. Like looking at the fact, like to your point, that could directly affect the playoff picture if they both just sort of like, all right, we're just gonna run some student body left and some student body right and kill the clock.
And everyone stays healthy and that's it. Yeah. It's friggin' nuts.
Speaking of college football, you think Jimmy Harbaugh is leaving your team?
What?
Yeah, did you hear about this? Harbaugh is the rumor is Harbaugh might be entertaining NFL offers.
No, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I had not heard this. No, I had to. Was this just came out today?
Last couple of days.
Over the weekend. I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I missed it. I definitely missed that. Shit. Interesting.
Oh, I thought you were gonna have the inside scoop.
No. I honestly have been. I was a little. Drunk by the end of that game.
Intoxicated this weekend.
That was not good. 34-11. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah. It was better than my bowl game score, which was
4 straight
canceled.
possessions. Yeah. Let's start taking shots.
Yeah. Well, it was better that. Well, no, I guess mine was better. We just blew it in the last 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah, we blew ours in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, true. So I guess Notre Dame kept me in it till the end and then ripped my heart out.
And I guess the other coaching conversation is: do you think McDaniels goes anywhere?
No.
I pray to God he doesn't. I think, the rumor is financially he's got it really good. I think his kids are pretty well embedded in the school system. I think they probably like the lifestyle. I think because he's from Ohio, the Chicago job might be enticing if they're having that conversation. Because did Nagy get fired already? Yes. Or is that like a fait accompli?
That's I think he's been rumored to be fired after every game.
I think Nagy gets let go after the game. Yes.
Not official.
Yeah. And I think
you know how it is. What is it? What do they call it? This upcoming Monday is like muddy. It's like Bloody Monday or something
Black
like
Monday
that.
Or whatever they call it.
Black Monday or whatever. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because it's there's going to be a ton of firings. You know,
A
it always
ton of
is.
stuff.
You know,
And that's probably what's so incredible. Like you talked about, you know, you think about the fact that Ben has been with them for what, 17 or 18 years. Ben played for the Steelers, and we sort of
18,
forget
I think.
because
Yeah.
it's been so long, but still it was shorter than Tommy was with us, and how spoiled we are, whether you like him or not, because I don't care. Count the trophies that we've had Belichick since the Carter administration. And you think about some of these teams that are about to make their 15th, 16th hires. I wish I were joking. Like we sat the other day, because I'm a dork, and we were trying to count up all of the coaches that have come and gone. It's like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. People come and go so quickly here, right? Like all the coaches that have come and gone, and he's just like, sitting there drinking his orange juice. I love that picture so much of Belichick drinking the OJ. Like, and I don't care whether you like him or not. Like, I'm right back to In Bill We Trust. I was mad for 3 seconds, maybe. And then I was, like, mad at Brady, but then I was back in love with Brady. And now I don't care what happens. Like, AB leaving the team, and I think that's all sort of going to appropriately light itself on fire just in time, maybe. And then there's rumors that he's going to peace out sooner than later, which is really
The one and
interesting.
done won't piss you off?
The what?
One and done won't piss you off?
What, Brady?
No.
No, the Patriots. He's saying the
and the
Patriots are
playoffs.
the one and done.
Nah. Yeah, I'd be annoyed. I mean, I think they've got enough talent to do more than that. But now that's what you're saying, right? Yes?
Billy's saying they're one and done.
Yeah.
I'm not.
What do you think, Scotty?
I think they have a decent chance. I don't. The AFC has been. And Peter King was on a radio station this week and said the same thing. But AFC is so wide open. There isn't one team that's like. I mean, even Kansas City looked vulnerable last week.
Yep.
You know, I think the Pats could potentially. The Pats could actually go to the AFC Championship game. You know, do I think they're going to go all the way and win the whole thing? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to go one and done. I really don't.
Okay.
Even if they look, if they go one and done. This has been an enormous success for a season, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
With a rookie quarterback and everything that they've gone through and everything too. And like, you know, you look at like the stats that this team has been able to put up. And I know people like complain about the defense, you know, but I pulled some of the defense numbers. I mean, their total defense is third, pass defense fourth, third down defense is fourth, red zone defense second, you know, takeaways, they're third, interceptions, they're second. You know, yeah, the rush defense, that's their biggest issue that they have right now. But this is a really talented football team. Offensively, middle of the pack. They're 16th in total offense, 8th in rushing. That's the thing, too, when the playoffs hit, that you need a good run team. And that's what this team is. I mean, they're 14th in pass, 7th and third down percentage, and 13th in red zone. So offensively, they're kind of middle in the pack. But, you know, we look at the teams that they could potentially be matched up against. And right now, you know, if everything stays the same, they'd play against Buffalo again. And that's fine, you know, and to me, I think that's fine. Buffalo, by the way, and I know we're almost at time, but Buffalo, to me, like in Buffalo, they don't scare me really as much as maybe they should because they struggle in bad weather.
Yep.
They're a team that lives in bad weather, that struggles in bad weather.
Yep.
They struggled against Atlanta. And look, Atlanta's 7-8 going in, but to me, like that should have been a Jacksonville type game if you are that good, Buffalo.
Yeah. And
he throws 3 picks. You know, Josh Allen, he struggles. They just didn't look great. I mean, at halftime they were losing, right? I mean, that's just it. And you know, then the Colts losing to the Raiders. Do the Raiders scare anybody here?
Yep.
No. And so I don't know. Like the AFC to me is really, really wide open. I think the Patriots have what has been a typical game plan or blueprint for success in the playoffs, which is a good defense and a team that can run the football. And I think that's, you know, I look at it that way. And I would be very surprised if they went one and done.
I have always, if we play somebody once, I've always said if we lose to them in the regular season, Bill figures it out for the playoffs. That's always been my theory. Now I know the Bills, we beat them, they beat us, so I feel like our comeuppance is on the way, which I would love because I think if everything sorts itself out, I'm going to stay negative. I'm sticking with 8 and 9. I think we lose in Miami because I hate this game. Like I just hate us leaving the cold weather to go down there. It's going to be 90. Our big fat uglies are going to be sweating their balls to their legs. Like it's going to be a crap show, I think. And I also think then we head into our game with Buffalo, which is maybe how we get seeded. Is that how we would land? I mean, it depends on
That's
everybody
how it
else's
is right
math.
now. Right now, it's
that's what it
Buffalo.
is right
Who
now.
knows?
But
Dude,
Sunday's going to be a cluster.
I love us going into the first round of the playoffs against anybody and getting a revenge game in, and especially the Bills would be fantastic. Vegas has the Pats giving 6.5. Over-under is 40. What say you? What do you think? What do you got? What's your score? Rubber Shoes.
They're giving 6.5, you said?
He's got his orange thinking shirt on. Give him time. Yep, 6.5. Yep.
I think
That's
it's going
really
to be.
high.
Definitely think it right. Yeah, I think it's going to be the under, and it's going to be 20-17 Pats.
Okay.
All right.
What do you got, Scotty?
I'm going to actually, I'd take the over. I do think it's going to be, I think it'll be close, but I'm going to say, 28-20, by 28-20 Pats.
Okay.
Or 28-20, 28-17. It was the 40 was the over-under, right?
Yeah.
Over-under is 40. I'm going to go heartbreaker. 22-21. Fish. Yeah, 22-21 bad guys. I think down in the warm weather.
Usually what happens.
Yeah, down in the warm weather, I think McCorkle Jones is going to sling it a little bit. Maybe some Wilkerson touchdowns, who knows? But I still think we lose, and I'm going to go at 22 because it's 2022.
Nelson Aguilar came back to practice today, by the way.
In a related story, nobody cares. No, I'm just kidding. I mean,
That's hurt.
probably the only bust of what they did all the shopping they did in the offense was very exciting.
No, he's had a pretty good year. I mean, has he earned every penny that they gave him? No, absolutely not. But again, rookie quarterback throwing to him, I think he's actually done pretty well. I've been pretty happy with him. Kendrick Bourne, don't forget at the beginning of the year, Aguilar was much shinier than Bourne because Bourne was dropping passes and he had the fumble and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But then Bourne, Aguilar has missed the last couple of weeks, but Bourne has made some plays. But honestly, the one that, if we're talking off-season acquisitions that haven't lived up to the name, Jonnu Smith. Now, granted, they haven't really got him the ball, but Jonnu Smith has just been an absolute bust so far. Yeah, but
He's good on a jet sweep. That's about it.
I'll call Bill and Josh and
hot.
let them know. Yeah. Run the jet sweep with John New. All right, boys.
I mean, it could easily, if the Bills get out to a big lead in their game, you could see them starting to pull players, although Belichick never seems to pull the players out to rest them. But I could see that happening, and then them losing, like Timmy said. But if they're playing the whole game to the end, I think they pull it out. Yeah, they're not going to let what happened last year.
Brandon Allen, by the way.
What's that? The backup for the Bengals, Brandon Allen?
Brandon Allen.
Right, perfect. Yeah. Thank you, boys. We'll see you next week. Next week, we might have a full crew. We might even have Dugan in the vehicle. There might be a 6-up. Who knows? There might be time left on the clock. Thanks for hanging out with us. Please go to ATB Show to check out all the content. Like and share and comment for sure. If you are in love with the creamsicle shirt, Billy wants to know about it. If you hate the creamsicle shirt, Scotty and I want to know about it. Have a great week.